Okay, so out of respect for everyone's time, we can go ahead and get started. So first want to welcome and thank everyone for joining us today. This is the first partnership webinar for the Delaware Mortgage Relief Program. There are a few homeowners here with us today. We want to say welcome and encourage you to glean as much as you can from this presentation, and to please keep in mind that the slides we will show in a few minutes were created for our partner organizations. We look forward to hosting more webinars specifically for homeowners in the coming months. Everyone has been muted for this presentation. However, we invite your comments and your questions through the chat at the bottom right hand of your screen. They'll be answered throughout the presentation as well as at the end during a question and answer period. If we do not get to your question this afternoon, or your questions are specific to an individual's situation or scenario, we'll be sending out a follow-up email that will capture the Q&A and provide responses as well as referrals as needed. The presentation is being recorded, so please be respectful and considerate of others on the webinar while providing comments. The recording as well as the PowerPoint will be shared in the previously mentioned follow-up email, as well as on the DE COVID Housing Help website. Today, you will hear from DSHA Director Eugene Young, our Director of Finance, Stephanie Griffin, our Mortgage Relief Program Consultant, Reginald Givens, and myself, Lori Jacobs, the Director of Public Relations. By the end of this presentation, we hope you feel prepared and assured regarding this program. And at this time, I'm going to hand the floor over to our director, Director Young.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Lori, thank you for the handoff. I am going to be quick and to the point. I just want to, again, thank you all for being here. There's a lot of familiar names, partners, and faces here with us today, so something I really appreciate. You know, essentially every single day, our team has been working hard. Stephanie, Cynthia, Lori, Reg, countless others have been just working around the clock to make sure that Delawareans are able to be served properly with this program. It's important for us to know that while we do housing finance here in our Wilmington office, it does not, our support for people at this time doesn't just stop with that. Our overwhelming goal throughout the pandemic is to keep Delawareans in their homes, whether that's through our DHAP, our rental assistance program, or it's through our mortgage relief program, which we're about to learn more about today. We're proud to administer this program. We're thrilled to share what we've been working on. And then, more than anything, we're grateful and appreciative for our partners, such as yourselves and the individuals that we're able to serve. But like the icing on the cake is to be able to have conversations like this, so we can get our information out, but also we can hear your critical feedback as how we can even better serve as we move forward with this program. So again, I want to thank you all for your time. I appreciate you all for being here. We look forward to the dialogue and the questions later, and I'm going to pass it right back to Lori. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you, Director Young. Please bear with me as I pull up our PowerPoint presentation. And up next, we have Stephanie and Reginald, who will share an overview of the program.
Thank you, Lori, and hello, everybody. I am Stephanie Griffin. I'm the Director of Housing Finance for the Delaware State Housing Authority. And we are going to just give you an overview of our Delaware Mortgage Relief Program. When the American Rescue Plan Act was passed, it created the Home Ownership Assistance Fund, which distributed $50 million to Delaware. These funds were made available to assist households who experienced a COVID-19 financial hardship that resulted in mortgage delinquency or forbearance. DSHA has been tasked with administering the funds and used them to create the Delaware Mortgage Relief Program. And assistance through this program will consist of two different elements, the Emergency Displacement Diversion Grant and then the Fresh Start Grant. We would like to first give you an overview of the Fresh Start Grant and this element. This element is designed to bring mortgage payments current and to help create long-term sustainable mortgage payment options. It's a one-time payment of up to $30,000, and the applicant's debt to income ratio will be used to determine if a straight reinstatement is pursued or if a modification will be pursued. As you can see on the slide, we kind of broke down the different income level thresholds for that track. Next slide, please. The emergency displacement diversion element is designed to avoid displacement due to property charges that may result in a lien against the property. So examples of eligible expenses would include property taxes and insurance that are not part of a mortgage escrow payment, chattel loans, land leases, or HOA and or condominium fees. We are going to also cover water and sewer delinquencies, as those are often lienable events, but no other utilities will be covered. Applicants can receive up to $10,000 in assistance for eligible expenses through this track. Okay, so some of the eligibility requirements. An applicant must have a financial hardship after January 21st of 2020, such as a reduced income or increased expenses event. They must own or occupy their home in Delaware as their primary residence. They must be delinquent by at least 30 days, including any payments during a forbearance period. And their income must be at or below 150% AMI or 100% of the median income for the United States, whichever is greater. Just quickly, overview of the application process. Applications will be submitted through the Delaware Mortgage Relief Portal. And once submitted, the application will be signed to a member of our compliance review team to review the completeness of the application and eligibility for the program. Once an application is approved, assistance will then be distributed directly to the entity which payment is due on behalf of the homeowner. So funds will not be distributed directly to the homeowner, but just to the entity that is in requesting payment. Next slide. Briefly, to discuss our launch timeline. So we recognize and understand that there is a need for this program, and our program plan has been submitted to Treasury for approval. But in the interim, we are working with our program partners to build out the application portal and to develop the program policies and guidelines. We are actually currently on track to launch a limited scale pilot on May 16th with a full program launch by the summer, pending our final approval from Treasury. So we are moving ahead and at full speed, and we are excited to get this launched so that we can start serving homeowners. So with that, I will turn the floor back to you, Lori.
Okay, thank you very much. And before we move on to the next section, Reg, just wanted to see if you had anything to add. Oh, you're on mute.
Forgive me, that's one of those things you do to try and ensure there's no background noise, and then you forget when you go to speak. Yes, thank you, Laura. And I just wanted to say to everyone on the call, it's my pleasure to be able to participate in this process with the state and to contribute to this effort to provide this assistance to you. Much of what Stephanie just covered with you is at an extremely high level, but that's to just give you a big picture overview of what is to come. If you have any specific questions, we can certainly address those in relationship to how it begins to look as it gets into the delivery mode. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Reg. So I know that you all signed up for the partnership piece of this webinar, so I'm really excited to dig into these partnership details. The Mortgage Relief Program will have three main levels of partnership. The first being an outreach partner. The name speaks for itself. Organizations or individuals on this level will promote the mortgage program through their own channels, whether that be email, social media, in-person events, virtual events, whatever form that the outreach partner sees fit. And materials for this outreach will be made available via a partner resource page. on the DE COVID Housing Help website. The second level is a homeowner representative. Organizations and individuals on this level will take the responsibility of submitting applications on behalf of another person. For example, Ms. Adele doesn't have access to a computer. A homeowner rep can set up an account, upload her documentation, and apply on her behalf. And the third level is a homeowner counselor. To access this level, an organization would need to complete an RFP process. The responsibilities here include accepting referrals from the Delaware Mortgage Relief Program and working with applicants who were not eligible or denied from the program. And before we hop right into our Q&A, I just want to turn it again to you, Reg, to share a bit about the legal aid aspect of these partnership levels.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. As some of you partners on this call may be aware, some consumers seeking assistance from this program may have challenges that involve legal elements or aspects of the process, such as mortgage foreclosures, pending sale dates. Sometimes area I typically refer to as tangled titles, land contracts, contract for deeds, sometimes inherited properties. And the program by design isn't specifically built to deal with that, but by partnership is aligning with legal services in order to be able to refer consumers to those resources that will help them get positioned to receive this resource should it take that.
Awesome. Thank you, Reg. So just what's next and what can you expect from the Delaware Mortgage Relief Program? So as I mentioned, this is the first partner webinar and we look forward to hosting more moving forward. The next one will take place on Thursday, June 9th at 2 p.m. I will drop the WebEx register link into the chat. And for those who are interested in that second level of partnership, the homeowner representative role, you can start attending trainings hosted by our application vendor, Yardi. These trainings occur every Wednesday via Zoom. I will also drop that registration link into the chat. And then if you are not already subscribed to our email list, please visit decovidhousinghelp.com to do so. This is the best way to receive program updates such as launch dates and application tips and tricks. And that is the end of our presentation today. We open up the floor for question and answer. Please feel free to pop your questions into the chat. Okay, so we do have one question. Can a homeowner apply for future mortgage payments?
Let me speak to that. The program is designed to assist, and Stephanie mentioned this briefly, one with like a fresh start, and that would be to cure any existing delinquency. For example, if you were past due 5 or 6 months and the homeowner has the ability currently to sustain their mortgage payments going forward, the program would cure that delinquency and then there would be no future payments. But in terms of monthly mortgage payment assistance, that is not presently built into the program design. However, there's a second element, which I'll mention for the person that needs that assistance with their payments as they go forward, because it's not affordable as currently structured, and that is the mortgage modification element, where a contribution up to the $30,000 was mentioned could be offered for the mortgage servicer to restructure the loan through a modification, extending the term, reducing the rate, deferring some of the loan balance, what have you, in order to achieve a sustainable payment. So while there's not direct future monthly payment assistance, there is an indirect means of achieving a future monthly payment that is sustainable.
Okay, so another question, are homeowner representative positions paid?
No, homeowner reps are not a paid position. I let the state kind of speak to that as well. But the beauty of that, right, is because the way that the platform which hosts the program is designed is a family member or friend or trusted advisor could do that. And they could do that for an individual that they know and have an established relationship with. But they could do that for multiple people, because when I register as a homeowner rep, I have my contact information in there. So I'm validated. And every person that I create an application on behalf of is reflected in that, so that information is captured. But that specific role is not designed to compensate the person for the assistance they provide the homeowner seeking help.
Thank you, Reg. Next question. What is the expected turnaround time for the review of applications?
Another good question. I saw Stephanie's face and she's like, hey, let me say this. First and foremost, and it's been stated, right, programmatically as servants of the constituents of the state of Delaware, the goal is to do it as quickly as possible, understanding that the process of delivering mortgage assistance can be convoluted and drawn out. It requires the cooperation and participation of mortgage servicers. So procedurally, there's an outreach once the consumer makes application, that the program in the verification and validation phase is reaching out to that mortgage servicer to confirm that information, to gain their participation and determine how we would deliver that assistance. And so the short answer to that long response that I've given is hopefully not more than 30 days, but initially it could be 30 to 45 days. It definitely can vary from consumer to consumer because the circumstances impact the delivery process.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, Reg, to really emphasize, is that it's going to depend on the circumstances of the application, which element or track that you're applying for. If it's the fresh start, then if it's a modification, that could take longer than just a straight reinstatement. If you're going with the emergency displacement, it could depend on how many different vendors we're working with. So it's unfortunately not something that we could necessarily give you an exact number, but to Reg's point, our goal is to certainly turn it around within 30 days.
Okay. Within the city of Newark, there are stormwater fees, which are also lienable. Are stormwater fees excluded from this program?
Stormwater fees are typically fall under the water and sewer. So the expectation is that would be an eligible expense. And it would flow through that emergency displacement grant. Excuse me.
So thank you. That was a great question. I did not know that about the city of Newark. So thank you, David. So I think I heard Stephanie say that homeowners who have already received CARES Act forbearance may be eligible for the program. Is that correct? Even if they are maxed out by the number of months from CARES Act forbearance?
Yes, that is correct. The forbearance is, we measure the eligibility for this as a 30-day delinquency. And that 30-day delinquency could actually be part of a CARES Act forbearance plan. So that would make you eligible.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if I could just add on to it, especially for any consumer listening, right, a forbearance doesn't cure the delinquency, it just temporarily sets it aside. This assistance through the state would actually cure the delinquency. So by design, it works in concert with what the mortgage servicer would have been able to achieve through a forbearance up to date. And then the program would cure that delinquency. You'd come out of the forbearance status and hopefully be able to sustain your payment going forward.
Are those modification funds available to go towards the modification delinquent amount where the loan has been modified and the delinquent amount has not been put into a balloon loan?
Let me speak to that, Stephanie, because it's a bit technical, but I want to make sure I understand the question. And maybe restate it again, please, Lori.
Yep, definitely. Are those modification funds available to go towards the modification delinquent amount where the loan has been modified and the delinquent amount has not been put into a balloon loan?
That latter portion is a little confusing to me, but let me say this. The short answer, I think, is yes. When there's delinquency on the mortgage and the loan has been modified, generally that modification cures the delinquency. And it does so typically by doing what's referred to as a deferral. It just puts that delinquent balance on the back end of the loan. And sometimes that'll create a balloon. If that's truly the case, then that individual would no longer be delinquent. We don't want to get into the scenarios, what I'm just saying, right? If it's a modified loan, typically it's not a delinquent loan. If it's a modified loan in process, right, where there is some delinquency that's going to be set to the side, then yes, the program assistance is designed to cure the delinquency. So we would say hypothetically $15,000, if you will, and then provide an additional $15,000 for principal reduction to help facilitate that modification to reduce the mortgage payment. So long story short, yes. Longer answer, depending on what it looks like, because it's not designed to pay what's already resolved, but it is designed to help resolve what is outstanding. There you go.
Thank you, Reg, and thank you, Cedric. I see the second part of your clarification in the chat, and we'll be sure to summarize that in the follow-up email as well. So next question, does any of the money need to be paid back?
Another great question. And you've heard the phrase or the expression, this is a grant. And so the short answer is no.
Is there a methodology over who is paid first when past due mortgage balances, past due taxes, water, and sewer fees exceed the cap amounts?
It is. This will come out in the program, but there's a prioritization of funding. So the program by design is a homeowners assistance fund. So typically you think of the mortgage as being priority one, and then you would have the water and sewer as secondary, if you will. But in the event that there were no mortgage, right, then water and sewer becomes the priority. And then you have HOA fees, which are a property charge that's allowable under there. And you can have homeowners insurance, but typically, you know, property is not going to be foreclosed upon for homeowners insurance. So the priority is typically mortgage down through other foreclosable liens to the homeowner's insurance, which is not a foreclosable lien.
Okay, next question. What if your forbearance has ended and you have to modify the loan?
That's what this program is for, honestly, right? Because the forbearance is just to give people an opportunity to regroup. And once you regroup, a repayment plan or a modification is called for to figure out how you will resolve the payments that have been forborne, not paid. Well, this program now launching at this time is ideal for the consumer coming out of a forbearance. And as Stephanie mentioned, that in and of itself could be an eligibility factor, qualifying factor. And so the program would work with your mortgage servicer to see how much was in the forbearance, if there's sustainability going forward, and if it is, provide the assistance to cure that and move on. If it's not, offer up the maximum assistance amount of the $30,000 to see what modification, restructure of that loan might be able to take place and provide that sustainability and go forward. Yeah.
Awesome. So we received the question, does the money have to be paid back? We have a flip side question, which is, do homeowners have to pay a fee to participate in the program?
No, applicants will never be asked to pay a fee to participate in this program. And we actually caution that if you are approached by anyone who asks you to pay a fee in exchange for counseling services or modification of a delinquent loan, that you should maybe follow up with some questions or reach out to us, because that's not something that we anticipate being part of this program. So
Great point. And I would just add to that, that same thing is true for anyone contacting consumers to say, hey, as a homeowner representative, I can complete your application for you. There should not be a fee involved in that. And that's why I began with, typically that's a trusted advisor, family member, or friend that's a homeowner representative for you, not someone looking to provide a service for a fee.
Okay, next question. Are manufactured homes or mobile homes included in this program?
Yes, they are. Stephanie, I saw her move. Now, yeah, did I get that right? Good. Okay. And there's
Yes.
a distinction. Yes, they are. There's a distinction I should say, and thank you for that question, right? Manufactured versus mobile. Technically, a mobile home is pre-76 and a half. So there's not many more of them still around, but they are. After that, they are manufactured homes, and that's a building code issue. But I only say that to say this. Some can be affixed to permanent land where the individual is buying their land and the unit, and some can be in a leased or rented space. Both are eligible for assistance under the program.
And is there an expected end date for this program?
We have the funding is allocated through, actually, I believe it's 2025, but we will run the program as long as funds are available up until that deadline. So it's just going to be on availability of funds.
Okay, next question. If the loan is modified and the homeowner is making on-time payments, do they qualify?
In that instance, the answer would be no, right? Because it's modified, you're current, there's no delinquency, and the payment is manageable, which is why you're making on-time payments. So there would be no eligible hardship or delinquency.
Do VA loans qualify?
Yes, great question. The part of the collaboration with the mortgage servicing world helps to provide solutions based upon the type of the loan. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, USDA, those investors have different what they call loss mitigation guidelines, all designed to cooperate with this assistance program, but it can vary based on the individual circumstances in terms of what the overall outcome is. But designed to work together to achieve the objective. So yes.
And just to clarify, the application process start to finish is roughly 30 to 45 days.
Just to clarify, that's an estimation. But yes.
That's the goal, but yes, that is absolutely the goal. But like we said, it's just going to be dependent on the circumstances of the particular application and what relief or assistance is being pursued. So.
And to that, might I add, the portal does allow for notes and communication. So the consumer, right, the applicant can log back into the portal, see the status of their case. So while time is always of the essence, more importantly, one wants to know that it's being worked and hopefully to a mutually acceptable outcome, right? And so that communication is there.
Yes. Yes, the portal will provide updates as we go along. So.
Can a homeowner be reimbursed for payments they've made but could not afford?
No.
No.
The program is not designed to reimburse, right? And we've seen this in historic events, right? It is unfortunate some people will liquidate 401k retirement funds, trying to sustain their home, understandably so. But the program is not designed to reimburse that. It's designed to provide assistance for either unpaid payments or a modification to the loan that would make future payments payable, but it doesn't reimburse.
It is, I think, worth noting, though, if a homeowner meets all of the eligibility requirements, including being at least 30 days delinquent, assistance could be used to modify the existing mortgage payments moving forward. So there wouldn't be reimbursement for payments made up to that point. But if a homeowner ends up back in a delinquency situation, they could become eligible for a modification.
If someone recently filed for bankruptcy to pay mortgage arrears through a Chapter 13 plan, can they apply for this relief and voluntarily dismiss the bankruptcy?
Great question. The short answer is yes, but right, bankruptcy can be a complicated process. So you don't want to prematurely encourage anyone or decide for even yourself to terminate your bankruptcy before you're sure that the process has been completed and you are eligible. Mortgage servicers, again, and that's the beauty of having the collaboration, will look to the trustee to ensure that they can receive the funding in some instances. So collectively, those involved, trustee, the program assistants, the mortgage servicers, trying to ensure if the consumer is actually eligible and if the assistance will resolve the delinquency that's inside the bankruptcy, then ultimately it would lead to either the dismissal or discharge of that bankruptcy. And now I'm going to add, as I do in many times, I am not an attorney nor a CPA, though the nature of my conversations in many may sound as if I am. Should you desire the advice of those professionals, you are encouraged to seek them. Yeah, you can tell I've rehearsed that, right?
Thank you, thank you. And just a reminder, specific individual scenario or situation questions, we do welcome them from a program perspective to help us think through how we will serve Delawareans. However, we will also address them in a follow-up email. So just another quick question, which is, what should a homeowner do if the mortgage company is requesting decision about modification by June 1st? If the homeowner modifies the delinquent mortgage, she will not be eligible for this program. Is that correct?
That is correct, because presuming the modification cures the delinquency and leaves them with a sustainable payment, it resolves the matter. To the greater question and concern, right, housing counseling is available. So I would say you might reach out to a HUD approved housing counseling agent now who might be able to talk through your specific scenario with you and help you reach a conclusion. As I'm fond of saying to people, I'm here to help you decide how to do what you do, but what you do is always up to you.
And then a question of clarification. If a loan is modified and still would have a delinquency, so why couldn't they apply for this program? I know that was a little choppy. Let me know if I should reread it.
And I think, and we can move on, but I'll say this in direct response. A modification resolves delinquency. So if a loan is modified, typically there's not delinquency. And that's why that loan would not be eligible, right? Because there's no delinquency.
When is the program expected to go live for applications? How will I know once the program opens?
We are targeting summer, so maybe the end of May, early June. It is going to be dependent on final approval from Treasury. So we have submitted all of those documentations, applications, follow-up questions. So we are waiting on feedback from them. So that will be a driving factor, but our goal is the end of May, the beginning of June. I will defer to Lori on how we're going to make the announcements and the rollout, as she is our public relations guru. So.
Yes, definitely. So by joining this webinar, you guys will all be added to our Mortgage Relief Program email listserv, in which updates about eligibility requirements, required documents for those who want to help get that paperwork together, as well as launch date and application tips and tricks will come out through that email listserv. You can also follow us on social media or check the decovidhousinghelp.com website for updates. Awesome. Any final questions?
Wish I was. I would be in a situation you related to Wayne Brady. No.
I can see it. I can see it.
No. I'll be in a totally different situation. No relation.
Okay, so on that note, we will go ahead and conclude our webinar today. Thank you again so much for joining us. If you have any questions or anything pops up later on when you're driving home or watching TV, please do not hesitate to email us or send a question through the DE COVID Housing Help website. We'd be happy to answer it. And again, we're really looking forward to working with all of you on this program, on getting it out to Delawareans and keeping people in their homes. So thank you for attending, and thank you for all that you do. Any final words, team?
No, just I'd like to reiterate Lori's sentiments. Thank you all for all of your hard work and everything that you do. So we appreciate the partnership.
Same here. Thank you all. Thank you all for putting this together and everyone that came out. Really appreciate it.
Okay, and we will be having another webinar Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. So if you know a colleague who was not able to attend today or think that this information will be beneficial for someone that you know, please feel free to share the registration link. And you guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.